Hello.
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 Hello, Cass.
Hello, Sean.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
We're here in Maine. We made it.
We made it.
Sorry we're late. That's our new sign on. Sorry we're late.
It really does feel like that every time. We're like, oh, we're late.
Late for what?
I don't know.
I don't even know what we're doing or
What are
why
we-
we're doing it.
Why are we doing it?
I don't know. But we're here in Maine, and your mom, we were just about to hit record, and your mom was like, don't be boring. Don't be boring. So she came up here with these pumpkins and rats and this little crow and this beautiful meat cleaver painting she did.
Yep.
And she decorated the set.
It's, yeah, full credit.
Which normally somehow we don't give a damn. We're just like, static shot. You could feel like you're hanging out with us in whatever weird place we happen to be in.
It's funny because my biggest, listen to this. My biggest fear is rats, and it's like my mom's thing. She's like the
I
rat
know.
lady. That's what she'd be for Halloween and
I
stuff.
know.
But my fear doesn't come from my mom. It comes from like being a New York City kid and like having like new sneakers that like light up and stepping right in a dead bloody rat and just being like horrified.
Yeah.
And then you always hear those stories about rats eating babies and stuff like that in their cribs at night, and
I've never heard those stories.
and you just see them, they're all dirty with their long ass tails. But look, when I see people have like pet rats and they're so sweet, like
You
I
like
love,
those?
of course. Like I'm not a hater. But I'm like one of those people, if you like go to a Halloween place, you know, the headless horseman kind of place, and there's like a guy walking around with his rat, like I've literally like, adrenaline bolted in the opposite direction.
Some haunted hayride, and like people are trying to scare you, but a rat is the thing that gets it.
Yeah, just like that's the kind of people who
No,
go there as
yeah.
rat people, you know what I mean?
I know. We
They're
know
just-
a lot of rat people, actually.
Yeah, they're just having a good time.
They're fine. It's you know, it's good. They're having a moment,
But
actually.
it's just like when you see one out of the corner of your eye, like I can't, like it's, who knows, maybe it's some past life thing.
Well, yeah, it is your past life within this life.
Yeah.
When you were a little girl. Like, I didn't grow up in New York City, so I have no, like, I don't really care about rats. I don't have an opinion about them. When you see one, you bolt.
Oh,
And I'm
I
like,
can't
we
help
lived
it.
in Greenpoint, which was like rat central for a minute. I don't know what the
Ugh.
heck was going on there, but it was like,
All of Brooklyn, all of the city. The city's rat central.
yeah. Rat King.
Yeah, exactly. I literally will bolt in the opposite direction.
And you should.
Yeah, because what if they nibble at your feet?
If they decided, you know, they're one of these things, it's kind of like geese, you know? It's like they're not even a thing until they decide to turn on you and get their friends to turn on you. Because if they did that, what chance would you stand against rats? Like, there's only so many, you just throw them off you or whatever. If they decided to come at you in mass
You grab a geese by the
with their
gullet.
numbers, same thing with a goose. I don't know. Like, we went up to I don't know what the hell they're called, a gander of geese the other day. And, like, I've seen a lot of internet videos of geese fucking with people.
They attack.
Yeah.
They're very territorial. So you have to be careful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you also got to, like, it makes sense to be nervous about animals that carry disease.
Yeah,
But, you know, you don't want to get between anything and its babies.
definitely, you know. But they're cool. The animals are cool with us because we're cool with them, you know.
Yeah, we try to be cool.
We made a pact with them. We said, look, we're not going to eat you anymore. Don't attack us in mass
Please.
out of nowhere. Please. Like, I don't want to be one of these people. I don't want to end up on the internet. I don't want to end up on failblog.org or whatever the hell the newest thing is. You know, I really don't. So that's the pact we made with the animals. We said we're not going to eat you or your homies.
Just don't take bites at us.
Just don't. Yeah, just look, let's just live in harmony together.
Right.
We'll figure out other things. We'll terrorize the plant kingdom for our food. We will live in harmony with other sentient animals. So,
They are screaming. The plants do scream
yeah,
when we eat them.
they hate it. Or is it like they're on a roller coaster?
They're like, woo!
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So your mom came in here and was literally the last thing she just said. She was closing the door. She just said, "Don't be boring. Don't be boring." And I'm like, Jesus, that's a pretty it's a heavy thing to lay on a couple modest podcasters out here. Don't be boring. I'm like, this is episode fucking 5,875.
I'm pretty sure we've made a podcast of that. How to be
that's true.
boring.
Yeah.
How to be boring and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's become just like life lately. I'm like, wow, I'm slowing it down. We talked about that in the last episode, just slowing it down.
Yeah, yeah, we did. And I mean, and like, and part of that is like, you see the temptations to get back on the ride. And I know this because I'm not on sugar, you know? You see the temptations to get back on whatever ride. But what I've realized about my psyche is when I get on a ride, I'm going to do the ride and I'm going to fully do the ride. And you've seen that, you know?
And I get on it with you because, like, I'm like, if we renunciate any more things, what are we going to be left with? And it becomes so serious. Like, we first come up to Maine and we got all our vegan snacks, and I was like, "You're still eating a lot of processed food," so we're like, "We got you."
Next time you see us, we won't be eating processed food.
So we don't even eat crackers or chips or anything.
Nothing. We go around with a bunch of glass jars filled with fucking seeds and nuts and little fibers, and I don't even know what we're eating. I don't know. But it's good. I mean, I'm feeling great. Again, I'm just on this fucking fast moving train of being a very serious renunciate.
You're a serious person. You wouldn't think that you're as serious as you actually are.
Yeah.
Last night there was like, we were at a little pizza place and we were like, oh, they have a vegan gluten-free whoopie pie, pumpkin whoopie pie.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'm not doing it.
No. Because once I'm on the train, I'm on the train. And, you know, like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, this is how serious I am. Like, if you want to know the inner workings of my psyche, I'm like, I got one life, I got one body. Okay, what would it be like if you were given one car at 16 years old and it's like, this has to last, this is the only car you're going to get from here on out? How would you treat that car? As opposed to like, yeah, you might have this car for 3 years, whatever. You just run it into the ground. I'm not a run it into the ground person, you know? So
I'm like Dings give it character kind of person.
Oh,
I'm like,
all
I remember
about
that Ding.
I'm all about that. I'm not like let's not take risks or whatever. But in terms of like fuel and this and like basically I'm just taking the fucking mouth pleasures thing off. You know what I mean?
You're basically being more boring.
I'm being more boring in certain ways so I can while out in other ways more.
Yeah.
That's what a professional substance abuser does.
Yeah.
They skate through their whole life without people really realizing that they've been in a haze of their own making the whole time. Mm-hmm. And that's how I feel like I'm doing pretty good.
Right.
I'm doing pretty good. Like I have to keep myself in shape so I don't get caught up with medical bills or or need a therapist because I fucking forgot to be exercising and sweating my ass off all the time. You know? So that's how serious I am on the inner. On the inner, most deepest level, there is a partnership between me, whoever that is, the universe, and this body. And as far as I know so far, I get one of these. So just trying to be good at it.
You're just trying to make up for all the deli sandwiches you ate.
I treated myself like shit for the first half of my life, you know. And then for like, you know, like 5 to 7 years was just like kind of like just a loosey-goosey, like I'll drink anything, anytime type of guy. And then around the time I met you and discovered mushrooms and shit, it was like the seed was planted of like, let's clean this shit up. You can't do it all overnight. I tried, but what you're going to end up doing is failing. If you're like, oh, I've eaten like an asshole for the first 32 years of my life, let's switch it. It can be done, but you're gonna fail. You know, you're not gonna ease yourself into it and get used to it.
I mean, I think it's just me wanting to be like not consensual. You know what I mean? There's a way that food is packaged and presented and sold and advertised in this country and in this world, and I'm like, I'm not doing it.
It's very sexy.
I'm not taking your prescription.
Yeah, no, it's
I won't do it.
The PR and the marketing and the presentation of products across the board it's very sexy. Very sexual. Very alluring.
Yeah, your mom and I were looking at each other the other day. There was like a manscaping commercial. We were like, what did we just watch?
What was it?
It was like this guy with a razor, and it kept like going to his like
Yeah.
genital area without showing that stuff.
I think you don't understand what I'm saying. I mean, like if you walk through Whole Foods, you could walk down any aisle in Whole Foods and be like, damn, look at this. This looks fucking awesome. I want to eat this. Just look into it a little bit more. It's like, it's a trick. Like they figured out this thing of like how to get us to think a certain way and buy certain things, and therefore have to subscribe to their solutions for things.
Yeah, no, I've known about it for a while. I mean, my mom was a brand strategist, market researcher. Like, people hired her to do focus groups and come up with what people want and need and how it makes them feel and how to package that and sell that and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way of placating the masses, which is why our information has become so useful. That's all we really have as Americans, is our valuable information about how to advertise to us better. Because that's really what it comes down to. Like, why does everyone want our information? Because they want to know who the fuck you are, so they can figure out what lane you belong in to get this kind of shit sold to you.
Well, I think what we've been doing and what we like to do is like deconstruct it. So like the journey of deconstruction, like what is joy? Where is joy derived? And like where do you think it's derived? And then where do you get it on a shallow level? But it's not actually joy. It's just packaged as selling happiness and buying happiness, but it's not. It's a dopamine spike. But it's when I kind of started thinking about how joy isn't like fun isn't joy. Fun can create, like joy can be extracted from fun because you're in the moment, you're with friends, but it's not the fun itself that is joy. It's everything that the fun allows for. Presence, community, involved passion, laughter, you know what I mean?
Remember laughter?
Remember laughter?
Yeah.
But that's the same thing with like pleasure. You deconstruct pleasure. And is it really coming from food? Is like food truly the source of pleasure, or is pleasure something deeper than that?
Feeling full.
Yeah, satiated. Okay, where does satiated come from? Okay, you need a certain amount of fat and salt and see, we're already making it boring.
That's how you but it's how you rectify how out of control things have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get in there and you do some forensic accounting. What the hell is all this joy shit that everybody's fucking going after? And am I going after it in the right ways?
Yeah.
Am I going after it in sustainable
ways? Or am I buying
ways?
the cheap shit?
Yes, exactly.
And is it making me sick?
Inevitably. Definitely.
Yeah. I said this on the Discord, but a friend asked me, like, how am I ever going to feel real joy again? And I started, like, writing in my head, like, a joy manifesto. Like, what is joy? Where does it come from? How do you find it? How do you tap into it? Like, what is the basis of it truly, underneath, like, maybe the ways that you think you get it, and therefore you're not getting it anymore because you're going to old wells, dehydrated wells, poisoned wells, that sort of thing.
Totally. Fake ones. Mirages.
Total mirages.
Yeah. You're just fucking in the desert. You just need a driplet of joy, and there's a mirage there, and you're like, what? Oh. And you go closer, and you're like, oh, thank God, I just need a driplet. And it's Las Vegas. And that's America. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So,
totally.
Like
a triplet of joy, and all of a sudden your whole family's in debt because you wanted to play the tables.
Yeah, exactly. Because you wanted to try your luck at the tables.
Yeah, you wanted to have a dance with God.
You wanted to go to Sin City.
Yeah.
And think that you could come out clean. No, but I think about that all the time, and I think it's like where we're like programmed differently than our parents' generation, and where they have a hard time understanding us is like the what's it all about question. For me, it's always comes down to that. I'm like experiencing joy, having happy moments, being happy. And I think their generation is just completely fixated on a different thing. It's like happiness with the trademark logo on it, is like what the 60s generation, you know what I mean? Like they're thinking of a completely different thing when we talk about happiness. It's almost like, and I'm talking about my parents very specifically, but like it's almost like they can't understand it because they haven't had access to it, because they haven't had time, because they got caught in the hamster wheel and sold on the concept of happiness trademark.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like to me, like thinking back to it, that it's also it's like security. Security comes first, and so our parents were so secure. I mean, obviously,
right.
The whole world felt like I don't know, we're more vulnerable. I don't even know what I'm trying to say exactly. Like we're more secure than ever, but we're more vulnerable than ever. But like being able to get like our basic needs met became easier. My grandparents went through the Great Depression, so it like imprinted on them.
Yeah.
Like a fear thing of security. Our parents were born out of like World War II, or my grandfather was in World War II. It's like every new generation is kind of faced with different a set of challenges, but also a different set of like where the nature versus nurture, like where even everything is at that time that you're born, where technology is, where the economy is, where world relationships is, where the climate is.
Yeah, it's kind of like astrology.
Yeah.
It's like the generation you're born into. Every generation has a set of circumstances that humbles it and defines it, and in the humbling, the reaction to the humbling, which is usually a war or some major event, is what's imprinted on that generation kind of forever. Like for me and mine, I was a senior in college when 9/11 happened. That was a major imprint on a couple generations. And the way we've moved forward from that moment and the reaction we had to that moment is who we are now. And it's who we are as a society when you zoom out in the biggest ways, And we're all about trading our freedoms for convenient and fake security, and false safety from all the wrong people,
Well, I think
you go to arms dealers for a sense of safety. Doesn't that just sound
ridiculous?
Like the definition of irony?
Yeah.
So every generation has that. And I think every generation has a different sense of where happiness can be derived from. And I think our parents' generation were convinced, and it worked for a lot of them, that happiness could be derived from selling your life to a corporation, which one day you'll get to retire from, maybe when you're 65, 70 years old. And, you like the happiness comes later, First comes selling your soul and not being able to spend as much time with your family and working yourself till you're sick. First comes all of that. And then comes the happiness later in life. So I feel like when our parents saw us trying to tap into that stuff while we're still in our prime working years and kind of start realigning our life to what probably retirement looks like for most people, and just fucking taking it back because I have one life and one time being Sean, it almost upset them. Give it some time, and they felt that we're the real deal, and now it seems like they're turning to us for advice a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it seems silly. I mean, it depends what you do. People do so many different things with their retirement,
Yeah.
And I don't.
It feels like for us, like when you take a look at our life, what would we do when we retire? Well, we would make films. So why don't we just do that now? Let's just do that now. Let's figure out how to make films. And I just think holding that intention for so long, and charging it up and speaking to it on the podcast and actually doing it and putting it out there and other people thinking we're filmmakers and all that, it's charged up this this life that we've gone towards. Like, we've made a little garden, and I'm like, why would I ever want to stop working in that garden? Like, I could toil away on these things for 50 more lifetimes. I love it that much.
Well, I think it's interesting.
And that's where my happiness comes from.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you're not retired. You work hard at a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think you just don't consider it work because you're in charge of it. You know what I mean? You're in charge of it. You're in charge of your destiny, and it's like your art and your passion and your
Well, I think there's a lot of people, and they mostly live in LA, that would look at like the shape and arc of my career so far, and we've had people say this to us, like, why aren't you like a multimillionaire? I don't understand. Like, you've experienced so much success in commercials and films, and like, we've been able to write our own ticket, but it's just not what I don't think of success as, like being so busy that I can't trip with my friends and go to concerts you know what I mean? Like, I just don't.
Yeah, remember that time we talked to a couple who like they had a like production company and they had like 3 series bought by Netflix, and we were like, they're depressed and on the verge of a divorce, if not already divorced and everything. And we saw like a peek into our a future, and we were like, no way.
Well, I mean, they were our peers. They were like our age, and they're like, hey, we're like you. We started a production company, and we're going and we're doing it, and we're selling shows left and right, and we're doing this and that, and they're miserable, and they're divorced, and they completely had lost track of what it's all about, if they even knew to begin with. You know, whatever you're doing is what it's all about. So why not be conscious of it and intentional about it? And who's to say that you don't have the right to be the fucking musician, the painter, the artist, the filmmaker, the actor? Who's to say that? You know, like, you get one chance. You have to. Even though it might sound uncouth sometimes, but it doesn't need to be anyone else's problem but yours. You gotta self-mythologize in this life. You gotta have lore about you and your story and where you're going, where you came from. You know, you have to hold that stuff in your heart. I think self-mythologizing is different than self-aggrandizing. I think self-aggrandizing is something that really leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and there's certain people that can't help but do it, like the Trumps. Tony Hinchcliffe is fucking notorious for it. Like, you don't hear a word out of his mouth that's not like self-aggrandizing. Like, I'm big, I'm huge, everyone knows me, everyone pays attention to me, like all that. It's a different thing. You can humbly self-mythologize. It doesn't have to be anyone else's problem. But I'm a fucking example of somebody who told myself a wild story when I was like 15, 16 years old about the life I want to live, and started self-mythologizing. And I think it's really worked out. And the renunciation part of it, literally, it comes in trying to sustain that and not letting anything else take over besides the intention I have for my life, you know, the shape that I hope it takes, how I want my days to feel. I don't want anything hijacking that. I don't want nicotine hijacking that, or sugar, fucking booze, all this stuff. I'll let weed do its thing with me. And I'm on acid right now, no doubt, but
no, it's all balanced. You know what I mean? There's always going to be some part of you that's like, I don't know. Some part of us that's like, the discipline allows for a lot of looseness in another area.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. When it comes to bodily things.
We were watching Dog Day Afternoon last night.
Great movie. Classic.
And there was a scene where the guy's robbing a bank, and one of the women who is like a hostage is like, give me a cigarette. And he's like, oh, I don't smoke. And she's like, why not? And he's like, oh, it's cancer. And meanwhile, he's
robbing a bank.
He's about to die later that day.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to the day in, day out bodily things, like we talked about on the last podcast, I like to have that dialed in. I don't want to think about that stuff. I don't want it to be up to chance that I might drink today. Like, why? Why even put that on the table? Why fucking for 20 minutes of fucking feeling dopey and pleasurable, my body's fighting off ethanol poisoning? Like, why am I doing that? Why would I do that? It's off the table. You know, little cookies, they're off the table. They taste great for 5 seconds. The second I hit my stomach, I'm like, why did I do that?
Well, I think when you really take stock of things that feel good, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, eating this piece of candy might feel good for, like you said, 5 seconds, but then there's like 5 minutes where you might feel bad. So you just do the math. And you're like, okay, well, I'd rather feel good for 5 hours than 5 minutes or whatever it is. So it
Yeah.
really just becomes so easy.
Mm. Yeah. Talking about taking the power back.
Yeah.
Talking about deconstructing things, getting to the heart of maybe even some of the words you use when you're thinking of your desire system, like joy. What are those things? You know, like what is it made of? What does a joyful life feel like? What does it look like? You know?
Well, not allowing corporations and a corporate oligarchy to extract joy and money from you.
That's
With
all they're
packaging up the
trying to
idea
do.
of joy.
Yes, exactly. And the packages get more and more alluring and glimmering and magnetic, and you can feel that.
Yeah.
And when I'm talking about the packages, I'm talking about the fucking gurus too. I'm talking about the fake the priest class that acts like they fucking know something for a price that you don't know yet. Like, look, there's a time and a place for that thing. Vast majority of that shit is bullshit, you know? So like you're saying, it's joy isn't a product, you know? Joy Incorporated is a thing that like is a concept I think a lot of people subscribe to without realizing it. And I think that's what we're going to get to the bottom of. Like we're making a movie called Disney Dads. You know, I think that's like what's going to be at the heart of it. Like deep down, it's like these are really good people who really buy what Disney's selling at its face value. And I fucking am so envious. I wish I could. I wish I could go back under the spell. Do you know what I'm saying? I wish it were that easy for me. I wish there was a product. I wish Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and the rest of the gang did it for me. But I'm fascinated by the people that do. I'm pretty sure at the heart of it, we're seeking the same thing. Me making a film about them and them going to Disney, I think we're seeking the same thing. And I don't know. I think that a big part of it is connectivity and understanding and real compassion. You know, like truly, really being compassionate for others and becoming better listeners. And just kind of allowing a shedding of the bullshit narratives to happen, because they will gunk up. You know, they will start to surround you and get.
Well, I think we're all like on a vulnerable tightrope, and sometimes I say that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that because I like bring
It brings attention.
it brings attention to it, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm on a tightrope, and I'm looking down, and I'm like, shit,
Oh,
I forgot I forgot I was a tightrope.
It's like when we're at a concert and you're like, remember when I used to pass out at concerts? Huh? You're like, I think I'm actually gonna.
Actually, this is not feeling great. No. Yeah, no. I mean, all of a sudden I realized, but we all are just. I think what I'm trying to get to with the way I understand all this is like, self-hypnosis is so much more powerful. You're getting hypnotized whether you like it or not. Like, do you want to be the one hypnotizing yourself and recognizing your joy, feeling gratitude, a sense of peace, harmony in your relationships, forgiveness, like all of these core values? Do you want to, there's no product that brings that. That's like an inner experience you can have. And there's a lot of hypnotists in our culture.
Yeah.
And if we can't help but be hypnotized, whether it's by the color red and we feel desire or passion, or it elicits these reactions for us, and
PhD. You know, there's certain like little, just like there's little hypnosis things. It's just, oh, okay, MD, PhD. You know, like okay, all right, I'll listen, I'll follow.
Or
You know,
even the Instagram, the nonstop Instagram story. Sometimes
yeah.
I like will watch it. I'm so freaking gullible. You watch an Instagram story and you're like, this is real. And then you look at the comments and you're like, oh, someone just took 5 seconds to
Oh,
totally debunk that. And
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
exactly.
okay.
Like, oh, this is a fake podcast that this person puts. This podcast doesn't even exist. They
This
just
is
say
actually
they
the
do.
Onion.
Yes, yeah.
This is actually the Onion.
Yeah. Well, but the self hypnosis is the self mythologizing that I'm talking about. You know, and not letting other things kind of hijack that very precious thing in life is your story of you. That's your ego. That's it. That's the simplest way to describe what an ego is. Your story of you. Okay. What's your story of you and your place in this universe?
Yeah. I don't know. You look at this universe and you feel like there's a lot of harm and hurt being done. And you're like, okay, I want to try better than that. Like, I want to not hurt myself and I want to not hurt other people.
Yeah.
What are the little decisions I can make every day to be a little bit better so I hurt myself less and I hurt other people less?
Harm reduction.
Harm reduction.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, seems like you could have like like maybe it's a lofty goal or a simple goal, but it's like you really only get there like one day, 1 minute, one thought at a time. Of being like, all right, because if you feel bad, the only way to feel better is to do something better, whether it's to have a better thought, have a more generous action, recognize something more beautiful and more
Recognizing what peace is.
Yeah.
And what peaceful feelings are and what peaceful outcomes are and what they feel like and what they look like. And recognizing and living in that space and occupying that space within your life. Because if you can't, how can you expect governments to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, if you can't do that for yourself and your community and your family and the people that surround you, your pets and all that, you know, if you can't do that, then how do you expect anyone else to do it? So I think that, you know, I hold such a high vision of, you know, peace and harmony that I'm very disturbed by what I see. But my positive outlook on it is, well, there must be enough data points in my life or over the course of history of what peace is, that what's going on now does not register as that, and things need to change. And I know that what the peace in my heart and in my life feels like is not happening on a global scale. And I know that the peace and sanity of humanity is something that I can only understand from my perspective. Therefore, I can only really change from my perspective. So I gotta start feeling and accepting things on a different kind of level. And again, it requires a shedding of the things that I thought I knew. The more I see, the less I know. And we're all out here doing that, and like, we can keep changing our frequency and we could keep raising it. And but it requires vision, and it requires like holding a sustained vision of what peace feels like. Like I've told you before, I'm sorry some of our arguments get messier than they need to. I was raised around people that I never saw what a peaceful outcome to an argument was, or you know what I mean? I never saw, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what saying, let's stop all the shame and blame right now. You know, there's never been that. There's never, you know, so I've had to kind of forge for and fight for that in my own life and get a sense of what that is as an adult. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to speak to right now, is like stuff that I wasn't afforded in my upbringing, I've had to fight for as a mature adult. And it has to do with the way you start to see the world. And you can really start to see the world in a shitty way if you're not telling yourself the right stories, and if you're letting corporations and weird little temporary pleasures hijack the overall narrative. So yeah, I can do better. Keep trying to do better. But this will always be the year that I quit nicotine and sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are two big ones. They really get their hooks in a lot of people, and they fully had their hooks in me. So Still love weed though.
You'll probably quit weed again for a little, do a little hiatus.
I know
right?
you want me to. It's your new thing that you have to bring up every day.
I don't bring it up every day.
You'll probably wind it down again, right? Like we did last year. Remember when you stopped weed for a while? I'm like, yeah. I mean, yes, I recall, and it was good, and I'll do it again. But I will tell you, I've been having a great fucking time in the meantime, and you know that. You know that, so don't take that away from me. Don't take that. It's not like I get on weed and it's like, look at the mess of a fucking human being you are. You know, it's one of my that is one of my cheap 3D world attachments, portals to joy. And look, I don't want to be a total renunciate. Yeah, I always got to have a little something going on. I mean, most people have porn. You know what I mean? Like little things that just like fucking get you through a day as a man. You know what I mean? A little something. And yeah, for me, it's you and weed.
I'm not. I just think it's fun to switch it up. You know, that's all I was saying.
I agree.
It's just fun to switch it up.
I agree.
See what happens.
Mm.
But I won't bring it up anymore.
No, you can bring it up whenever.
I gotta be careful what I say around you because you will if you will just.
Well, that's the difference. Is like you'll be like, you're gonna quit weed again, and I'm like, sure, I'll just do it. And that's just the way we live. You'll never pat me on the back over it. It's just the way we live from now on. Meanwhile, I'm like, Cass, you should exercise. You really should. You really should start stretching now. You should start exercising now. This stuff's going to creep up on you. You should floss. You should exercise. You know, all this stuff. And you're like, stop. Just, you know, like, and it's like, Sean, quit weed. And I'm like, what? Telling you to floss isn't taking something away from your life. It's fucking preventing you from having to go to the goddamn dentist a million times. Like, you know, telling you to exercise is so we don't fucking end up in a situation where, like, you're like, oh, my cholesterol's through the fucking roof or some shit. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I try.
You fuck with me. You do definitely love, you know what you have on your hands, and you're like, I could have a little fun with this. And it's cool. That's fine. I do the same.
What are we here for?
Yeah. Let's have a little fun.
Does Halloween give you joy?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I really like the colors. Like, we're very lucky to live in New York. And it's absolutely beautiful. And this October has been like the most beautiful of my life. And yeah, when I was a kid, I loved Halloween so much. I loved running around and, like, you know, shaving cream and fucking eggs and fucking just being a juvenile delinquent and vandalism, this kind of thing. Just fucking the kind of thing that, like, if I saw now, like, you know, I don't even have kids. But if the day after Halloween we drove around our neighborhood and it was covered in toilet paper and eggs and shaving cream and, like, all the mailboxes were fucked up, and I would be so fucking mad. I would be so annoyed. I was not expecting you to say
that. I thought you were going to be like, oh, the kids.
No.
To be a kid again.
No. I would be so like, what the fuck? But at the same time,
control these hooligans.
Yeah. But when I was a kid, like, it was like, you know, fucking a rite of passage. It was something you did. It was like all the parents kind of turn a blind eye while the teenagers destroy the neighborhood, and then they just clean it up the next day and, like, okay, you guys got that out of your system. It's like the purge or whatever. We just purged all that and took it out on the neighborhood and moved on. But yeah, it was good times. I mean, come on.
But now that you're now the idea that you'd have to replace a mailbox, you're like, that's not easy.
No, it sucks. It fucking sucks. Doing anything that wasn't part of the fucking plan sucks as an adult. You know what I mean? You have such, like, your time is so precious. Your time, it's just like, God. Yeah.
But you don't know that when you're a kid. You don't know that how much time someone has to, like, you. It's funny to you that someone has to spend time removing the toilet paper instead of doing the things with their family that they would like to do or for themselves.
Yeah, and it is funny to me now too. It is funny still. Yeah. Just like how serious things get in the suburbs, and the fact that is even was an acceptable ritual. I don't know if it still is. I don't know if that's still a thing. Like neighborhoods getting destroyed. Like my neighborhood would get destroyed to the point where like the most fun fucking day of the year was the bus ride to school the day after Halloween. We'd all be like, "Fuck, I fucking did that." You know what I mean? It just a disaster.
I don't think it would be like that anymore. I don't think it is like
There's
that
Nest
anymore.
cams.
Yeah,
and shit.
everyone
Like,
knows Nest cams.
Yeah,
so.
I just don't. It's not like that anymore, and it's probably a good thing. And like I guess I'm glad I lived through that, and I kind of just got to sow my wild oats when I was a young boy. But yeah, I'm not like overly like nostalgic about all that stuff. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the nice weather. I really do. I appreciate a really nice mild October in New York, because it feels like the time of year where where you want to say like, let's get the fuck out of here. We'll be back in fucking May. It feels like that, but you can't turn your back on the seasons. And I won't.
Dive deeper into it.
Yeah, raw dog it.
No, I think it's so important to be miserable. Like it's like cold shower. Like do not to be miserable. I wish misery on no one, but to do
hard things.
hard
Things you don't want to do.
things
Doing
you don't.
things you don't want to do.
They, it gives you a. But I will not watch a scary movie.
It's what I mean when I talk to you about exercise or whatever. I'm like, you don't want to do it now, but what you really don't want to do is like be in some situation where you have to get a catheter put in. Like that's how I live my life in fear of that shit.
Of catheters.
In particular, yeah, definitely. That's why it comes out as like when I'm trying to think of an example of like. Why on the daily I do the thing I don't want to do, which is like bust my ass. Why am I doing that? Well, because I ultimately don't want to have to get a catheter. That's a one-way pipe, baby. I'm telling you right now, that's a one-way fucking pipe. And it's going to remain so. I don't care what I have to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So I'll do the little thing that I don't want to do each day. And like when it's actually... I think I saw a fucking reel of Huberman talking about this to David Goggins, that it's like a measurable thing, that the part of your brain that does stuff it doesn't want to do, when as you increase that, it actually gives you more access to joy and happiness and presence and stuff. So the way I see the universe is just like the only law that I seem to understand about the universe is balance. So for everything you want to do and are excited about doing, probably something's coming to balance that. Why not just do that thing yourself? I'll take a cold shower. I'll take the cold shower. Sure. I'll do that. I'll fucking run the 5 miles.
You're like, I want to be in charge of these tools of torture.
Yes.
Let me control my own tools of torture.
Let
me subject myself to enough torture that maybe the world will cut me a break.
Let me tip the scales of justice in my favor a little bit. If we're self-mythologizing, let me get in there. Let me get in there. It's my way of repenting.
Totally.
Yeah, that's what I do when I turn the shower to cold. Repent.
Wait, is your biggest fear catheter? Because now we're talking. I said mine was rats. So.
I guess yeah. I never really thought about it, but it comes with a cinematic universe of other circumstances surrounding it. But yeah, that would be part of it, is being in a situation where I have no choice but to have a fucking tube stuck up my dick. That sucks. That sucks. I don't want that to happen. And look, knock on wood, hopefully that's not coming for me. But I'm going to do the things that I can do to prevent that from happening. And here's what happens. You end up falling in love with those things. It ends up becoming like a part of your routine. You end up getting addicted to that ride. And I feel like that's the ride I've pretty much been on since we've known each other. And it's like, much more positive than the ride of my 20s, which was like, holy shit, I was out till 5:30 in the morning again last night. Again. Like you were just saying to me on the ride up here, you're like, I didn't know that people like you were real.
Yeah, or that existed. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Like what though?
That you'd go to that you just stay out all night drinking.
Yeah.
Like I just
every time. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
You never really, I mean, even though you were like a college party chick.
Yeah, but colleges, that's where it's for. But you were an adult.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm like, unless you're having chemsex, like, what is the point?
Well, I didn't know about chemsex. I didn't know back then. Yeah, I didn't know the ways. I didn't know the dark arts.
Yeah, well, be careful what you even talk about. It makes it sound like...
No, truly, if I knew about chemsex back then, I wouldn't have been wasting my time fucking hanging out in bars. But like, look, that's what I knew of in my 20s as a portal to joy. And it's sad because you think, like, when I think back about it now, it's such a loss of innocence when your friend group like discovers what alcohol does, because then that's all it's gonna be about. And once you fucking break the membrane on alcohol, that's it. Your socializing will be, it just starts creating a motherfucking vortex, and that's what things become about. And it really is a big loss of innocence moment when a friend group starts drinking together. I don't know, but that was to me a portal to joy in my 20s, and it pretty reliably worked because I was so distracted throughout the week. I would just go back to work, and you don't have time to hit the release valve. You don't have time to think about things. You're just going. And like by Friday night comes around, you're like, well, I'm of course blowing it out tonight and tomorrow night and probably even Sunday all day. And then I'll probably actually be out here Wednesday night just to feel like I'm taking one back from the man. So yeah, it like you end up 3-4 nights a week fucking making out with weird girls, staying out till 4 a.m, fucking going all over the place. Like, why the hell was I in the West Village last night? What is this credit card bill? How much money have I spent? Just insane stuff that you really, it's very blurry times for me. But in the end of it came clarity. All that blurriness led to I literally met you, and it was like my life just like rack focused onto you, and everything. It was like the longest lens ever, and it were the only thing that could possibly be in focus. And that's been the shape of my life ever since. It's why I even thought of the idea of like, maybe we should live more like retirees. Maybe you don't have to run off working. Maybe we don't need as much money as we thought.
Maybe we don't need a house.
Maybe we don't need a house. Yes,
maybe
exactly.
One car is enough.
Absolutely.
Maybe we don't have to drive anywhere.
It's made me more.
Maybe we don't like fancy restaurants or drinking on the weekends or designer anything.
Or having a wedding, or you know what I mean? Like all the bullshit just sheds away. When you're like, oh, this is my primary point of focus. This is the ultimate portal to my happiness and my joy, and we share a passion together, which is filmmaking and community, really. That's what the filmmaking is. So fuck yeah, like I'm all in on that shit. That makes sense to me. And like I said, it's the universe providing a balance, a clarity and focus to something that was very blurry and unfocused in my 20s. When I think of my 20s, I think of like if you shot a movie through Vaseline on the lens. Just like, whoa, just like wild, blurry, melty, fucking, just whatever. Like I'm like, I send good vibes back to that person, and I'm proud of them because we did keep forging ahead. And by we, I mean me and my body or whatever. We just kept pushing ahead, and like, I was good at business and I was good at making money and everything. But there was this blurry kind of ego-driven, weird maniacal drive to it all that completely changed when you and I got together. And yeah, that's why I had the idea of like maybe we could live like retirees. It's like if we need less, we get more time together. Cool. I'd rather my life be about that than saving for a retirement, and that I would probably lose you in the meantime to some fucking career and affairs and nonsense. You know what I mean? Like all the shit that comes along, all this the self-medicating you have to do.
Yeah, we're trying to do Hunter S. Thompson without like the drugs.
Yes, yeah. You're oh, God, fucking. What
Well,
was
actually,
Hunter?
with the drugs, but without the alcohol.
Yes, we're doing the Hunter S. Thompson and his lawyer thing, but without the alcohol or guns. That's
Alcohol,
what
guns, or like uppers, downers.
I don't know. I've been liking black tea and acid. I wouldn't call that a downer. Yeah. Do you want to hop over to the Patreon for a little bit and keep talking?
Definitely.
We've been up to some fun stuff, and we'll just talk about it over there.
Yeah.
But it was a rad time. Think about supporting us. Or if not us, think about supporting somebody on Patreon.
Yeah.
If it's us, we're at patreon.com/churchofchill. But if you don't support someone on Patreon, go to a local show. You know, buy a painting, buy a sculpture, buy a piece of pottery, do something to
Find your local refill store. They're awesome. I've been way too late on the game on doing bulk and eco store and that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
It's the move.
Yes. But beyond that, I'm talking about artists specifically. Okay. I'm not talking about entrepreneurs. They're great, awesome. I appreciate people doing entrepreneurial things, but a lot of artists are entrepreneurs and they need support. They really do. Like I was saying to you the other day, what excuse does anyone have that makes any kind of decent money to not spend between $1,000 and $2,500 a year on tickets to things? Go to shows.
Oh yeah.
Go to them. And $2,500, hey, for some people that might be one trip to Mexico to watch Sturgill Simpson play with the Dead. For some people that might be fucking 100 wild local nights out, you know, but you supported these bands for $10 cover charges. Just go do something. Feed the economy that you want to see thrive. You know, support your drug dealers. Support your musicians, support the filmmakers that are out there, please. And all we ask is that you pay with attention, watch our films. And if you want to pay with money, throw us a donation on patreon.com/churchofchill. We ask for $2 a month, but you can clearly give us more, and we need it. Cool. Patreon.com/churchofchill. See you over there. Peace, love, and magic.
Love you guys. Very grateful.